Chapter 22. By the time Wednesday arrived at Tyler's house, the sun had long set, and the only light came from the porch lamp and the glow of his bedroom window upstairs. She didn't bother with the front door. Instead, she scaled the patio post with practiced ease and slipped in through his bedroom window like a shadow. Tyler barely reacted. He didn't expect her to use the door anymore. What caught her attention wasn't his reaction, but how unnaturally spotless his room looked. The desk especially looked like it had been scrubbed clean of its usual chaos. She arched a brow. Expecting royalty? He gave a casual shrug. Figured you'd appreciate a clean workspace. She walked over and sat at the foot of his bed. Tyler joined her and handed her the police file, worn, yellowed at the edges, and thick with old paper. Here, he said. It's your dad's file. She took it from him silently. The label read, Addams, Gomez, homicide case, Jericho police stepped. Tyler leaned forward, lowering his voice. Since the Loving Friday festival, my dad hasn't shut up about you. Keeps saying I should stay away. Keeps calling your dad a murderer. Says he should have been locked up a long time ago. Wednesday flipped the file open. Inside were crime scene photos, witness reports, and a copy of the official police statement. But something stood out right away. The charges had been dropped, signed off by none other than Sheriff Walker, who now served as Jericho's mayor. Her eyes narrowed. Either they found dirt on the victim's family, or my father wasn't at fault at all. Tyler nodded slowly, glancing at the document over her shoulder. Both sound likely, he said. Especially with how powerful your family is. It's not hard to believe they pressured someone into making the whole thing go away. Wednesday didn't answer. She stared hard at the old report as if it might give up a secret it had kept buried for decades. Tyler stared at Wednesday, expecting her to react. She didn't flinch. Her face stayed unreadable. He shifted, uncomfortable under her gaze. Then, quietly, they found a body in the woods. Chopped up. Scattered. She stilled. The air between them sharpened. Did you black out? She asked. His breath caught. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then, slowly, his eyes lowered like he already knew the answer. Have I been killing people? She didn't speak. Her silence settled like a verdict. His body locked, then unraveled. He backed away, shaking his head, muttering under his breath, words too low, too fragmented. Horror washed over him, then disbelief, then anger. His hands curled into fists. He nearly punched the wall but stopped himself, fingers twitching. His knees hit the edge of the bed. He sank down, palms covering his face. His breath came in quick, uneven pulls. Wednesday stepped forward. No hesitation. No softness, either, just presence. Anchored. Watching. You're not to blame. He didn't look up. I still did it, he said. You weren't yourself. He laughed, dry, breathless. It wasn't a laugh at all. Just the sound of someone coming apart quietly. What did I become? Wednesday answered plainly. A hide. She described it clinically. Hulking, grotesque. Skin gray and stretched. Eyes glowing. Rage uncontained. A creature born of suppressed torment. Tyler didn't speak. He sat still, breathing slow. One thought pushed everything else aside. It was real. The killings. The blackouts. The monster. Wednesday didn't touch him, but she stood close enough for him to feel her certainty. You've done terrible things, she said. But you're not a terrible person. Something steadied in him, not peace, but pause. He looked at her. His breath shuddered out. He remembered her grandmother's voice, steady, cutting, the way she always seemed to see right through him. Just a friend. Grandmama snorted. You don't have friends. And certainly not some average normie. She gave him a long, piercing stare. So tell me, my little criminal, what is he? A monster? A killer? A psychopath? He looked at Wednesday now, as if seeing the answer in her eyes. So I'm your type, he said quietly. A psychopathic, serial-killing monster. I guess you are, she replied, tone flat but unwavering. He didn't laugh this time. The silence that followed was heavier but steadier. Something like acceptance. After a moment, she asked, "What do you know about your parents?" Tyler exhaled slowly. "I'm certain my dad's just a normie. And your mother?" He paused. "I was little when she died. Don't remember much. Just that she loved me." Tyler leaned in, slow and hesitant. Wednesday didn't move away. It wasn't the first time they had gotten this close, not after everything they'd been through together in 1620s Jericho. Months had passed there, maybe longer. They had fought side by side, trusted each other in ways that left little room for doubt. There were stolen moments like this before, quiet, rare, and always on their own terms. Their lips met, the kiss brief but charged, a flicker of something deeper still simmering beneath the surface. When they parted, neither spoke for a moment. Then Tyler asked, softly, "Is your family coming to the exhibition?" Wednesday nodded. "Most likely." He paused, searching her face. "Are you planning to introduce me to them?" She looked at him, expression unreadable, her eyes dark and steady. "We'll have to wait and see." Tyler frowned. "Why are you second-guessing it?" A pause. "It's complicated," she said simply. He leaned back slightly, eyes still on her, jaw tightening. The answer wasn't unexpected, but it still stung. Tyler suddenly pushed her down onto the bed, hands tight around her wrists, pinning her in place. The shift was instant, too sharp, too sudden. His body language, his grip, his stare. This wasn't Tyler. This was the Hyde. Wednesday recognized the difference immediately. Tyler could be intense, obsessive, and protective, but the Hyde was something else. Cruel, predatory. Always watching, always testing her. And always desperate to claim control. His face hovered close to hers, and she could feel the tension in his jaw. "I'll only tolerate so much, cockroach," he said, voice darker now, edged with something feral. His eyes searched hers, not with concern, but with challenge. Wednesday kept her expression blank. This wasn't the first time the Hyde had surfaced, and she had learned to stay still, to observe. In 1620s Jericho, it had been worse, wild, erratic. She remembered how the Hyde had lashed out at anyone who so much as looked at her the wrong way. And that first transformation, when she'd nearly burned at the stake, the creature had torn through her restraints and those who held them without hesitation. Now, here he was again. She didn't react when he muttered under his breath, "Stupid little cockroach." That was the Hyde talking. Still pinned beneath him, she said quietly, "We'll wait for the right moment. To introduce you to my parents." The Hyde's expression twisted into a smile, but it didn't warm. It chilled. He leaned down, brushing his lips over her skin, jaw, neck, slower, rougher than Tyler ever did. His kisses weren't affectionate. They were Mark's claims. He left a hickey as if he meant to brand her. Then, just as abruptly, he pulled her into his arms. Protective, possessive, suffocating. "I love you," he murmured against her hair. "I adore you. I'm never leaving. Ever." Wednesday didn't move. "You're really a psycho," she said, voice almost inaudible. "I know," the Hyde grinned, chin resting on her head. "You love it, don't you?" Wednesday didn't answer. Not because she didn't have one, but because there was no point. The Hyde wasn't Tyler. Not really. Not fully. He didn't need answers. He only needed submission. "Don't get used to this," she finally said. "I won't have you treating me like a pet." "You're the one who started it," he said, tone accusatory. "You blurred the lines." "As if they weren't already clear," she replied, voice colder now. "Then why call me a friend in front of your grandmother?" he asked. She paused. "I fumbled," she admitted. "I don't like being public. My parents are too much. You'll understand when you meet them." The Hyde gave a low hum, still holding her tightly. "I can respect that." Wednesday didn't respond. She hated this. Not the closeness, but the way it happened. She liked control. She liked holding the reins in their relationship. Most of the time, Tyler let her. He respected her boundaries, took her lead. But the Hyde didn't care about boundaries. The Hyde didn't listen. These were the moments she despised, the ones when she had to bide her time, wait for the real Tyler to return. When all she could do was play along until the storm passed. She preferred Tyler. Every time, but the Hyde brought with it some thrill the Hyde brought with him. A raw, unfiltered wildness that stirred something dark and familiar in her. Her need for chaos. Wednesday stared at him in the low light, her voice steady despite the tightness in her chest. "Why did you kill that man?" The Hyde's eyes gleamed, amusement playing at the corners of his mouth. "You stopped calling me in the middle of spring break. I got restless. I was in the hospital," she snapped, jaw clenched. He tilted his head, still cradling her like something precious and breakable. "I was really worried about you, cockroach. If anything happened to you, I just might kill this entire town." "You can't draw attention to yourself," she warned. "If anyone finds out, they'll throw you behind bars or worse. A mental asylum. No killing. Do you hear me?" Her voice cut sharp through the cold air. "You're not allowed to kill anybody else." He gave a half-shrug, tone deceptively casual. "Sometimes I just get the urge to kill." She glared. "You're sloppy. You leave your victims where they fall. If you can't control it, kill wildlife instead." "Yes, master." "Whatever you say, master," the Hyde mocked, grinning. Wednesday's patience was fraying. He had been teasing her for hours, testing the limits of her composure. For once, she found herself wishing Sheriff Galpin would storm in and interrupt them. She exhaled sharply. "I want to show you something." His voice was honeyed, cruel. "And what would that be, my little cockroach?" Still tucked under his chin, she pulled away just enough to meet his eyes. She already regretted the decision she was about to make. But she needed a contingency, some leverage. She led him deep into the woods beyond Nevermore, to a hidden storm door nearly consumed by overgrowth. She struggled with it, her small hands slipping on the rusted edge, until he stepped in and lifted it with ease. He peered into the darkness. "One-way access?" "To my dorm room," she confirmed, arms crossed. The Hyde's grin widened, satisfaction blooming on his face. And just like that, without warning, he let go. His body slumped forward a fraction, shoulders relaxing. Tyler blinked, disoriented, as if waking from a bad dream. He looked around, dazed. "What? What am I doing out here?" "You didn't kill anyone," Wednesday said coolly. "But you need to leave now. Go back before he takes over again." Tyler's breath caught as he looked from her to the open passage. There was confusion in his eyes, but also fear. Wednesday didn't move. Her face gave nothing away. But inside, she was already calculating the cost of what she had just done. Chapter 23. Days later, Principal Weems finalized the exhibition plans. The board and the mayor had unanimously voted to open the showcase at Nevermore, an exclusive reveal for the outcast community. Afterward, the collection would be moved to Pilgrim World for public access. A rare act of cooperation. But this wasn't just a gallery of relics. Wednesday Addams' work would be woven throughout the school, her architectural sketches pinned beside the structures they inspired. Nevermore would become a living map of her vision. At the center of it all, a charcoal portrait preserved beneath a thin glass pane. Two girls stood side by side in colonial dress, one in deep black, the other in soft, pale gray. Their braids were identical, their expressions unreadable and calm, with that same quiet intensity that drew viewers in and unsettled them all at once. The girl in black stood slightly apart, her hand resting at her side, while a disembodied one, a hand, independent and half-curled mid-motion, hovered gently over her shoulder. The other girl clutched a worn spellbook to her chest, its leather cover cracked and frayed at the edges. It was haunting, familiar, and unmistakably Addams. Principal Weems felt a rare flicker of satisfaction until the mail came. First came the expected RSVPs, Brahm families, outcast scholars, and civic leaders confirming attendance. Then came the black envelopes. Elegant. Heavy. Stamped in wax with a Gothic A encased in a circular medallion, the Addams family seal. Not one. Not two. Dozens. Most hadn't even been invited. Weems felt her chest tighten. They were planning to show up anyway. It wasn't just Morticia and Gomez she was worried about. It was what any one of them might do. Because if even a single Addams stepped forward and claimed ancestral rights over Friday's work, her writings, her designs, her legacy, the entire exhibition would collapse. They could demand the return of every artifact. They could bury Nevermore in legal challenges. Hell, they might even try to take the portrait. The mayor knew it. The board did too. There was a reason the planning process had taken so long. Everyone was afraid of waking the sleeping beast that was the Addams' ancestral claim. Principal Weems set the letters down carefully. They weren't just coming to witness history. They were coming to remind her whose it was. After classes, the mail finally came. Students stared as two large black boxes, each tied with pristine white silk ribbon, were carried into the courtyard, followed by two smaller shoe-sized packages. Wednesday was halfway through signing the delivery form when Eden snatched one of the large boxes straight from the courier's hands. "Yoko, grab the other one," Eden chirped. By the time Wednesday turned around, the two were already halfway up the stairs, headed straight for Ophelia Hall. "This one's addressed to Tyler," Yoko noted, eyeing the return label. She shrugged and carried it anyway. "Well, just open Wednesdays," Eden said excitedly. Word spread fast. By the time the girls reached the dorm, Bianca, Divina, and several others had gathered in the hallway, drawn by the sight of Eden and Yoko lugging the elegantly wrapped parcels like it was Christmas. Eden laid the box on Wednesday's bed and pulled the lid off like she couldn't help herself. Everything inside was black. Black wrapping paper. Black velvet lining. Nestled in the center was a silk medieval-style dress, so dark it practically absorbed the light. Elaborate corset detailing, flowing sleeves, delicate stitching, it looked like it had been tailored by a Victorian spectre. Beneath it, black stockings folded with precision. Yoko popped open one of the smaller boxes, revealing a pair of dangerously high Louis Vuitton platform pumps with blood-red soles. She whistled. "Yup. Should have known." Another funeral dress. Bianca, leaning against the doorframe with her arms crossed, raised a brow. "Are you mourning the exhibition before it even starts?" Eden blinked at the gown. "Wait, is this for the exhibition?" Wednesday, now stepping through the door with the delivery slip in hand, looked at her deadpan. "What else would it be for?" "I mean," Eden hesitated. "The dress code is semi-formal. Not Gothic aristocrat rising from a crypt." Yoko chimed in, "Yeah. It's not a black tie event, Wednesday." Wednesday looked at them as if they'd just suggested she wear a neon romper. "Try telling that to my family." Wednesday opened the box addressed to Tyler and carefully pulled out a pristine white blouse, followed by a two-piece black suit made of fine wool. The stitching was sharp, the cut impeccable. It was formal, understated, but expensive in a way that couldn't be missed. Then she noticed two smaller, snakeskin leather boxes tucked neatly beside the suit. She opened the first. Inside lay a pair of custom-made cufflinks, black onyx inset with silver trim, engraved with the initials TG. Before she could even register a thought, Eden was already plucking the box out of her hands, holding it up to the light while Yoko and Bianca crowded around her. Ajax wandered in, Xavier limping slightly beside him, fresh from the hospital. "What's going on?" Ajax asked, blinking at the chaos. "Look what Wednesday's family bought for Tyler," Eden said, passing him the cufflinks. "Holy, these look expensive," Ajax said, nearly dropping one. "I don't think my dad even lets me touch his cufflinks." "I didn't buy them," Wednesday muttered. "Some idiot in my family did. My parents aren't supposed to know about him. I should have made Grandmama and Adele swear on something darker." She opened the second snakeskin box and froze. A gleaming silver Rolex lay nestled in black velvet, ticking softly, the weight of generational wealth humming from its polished surface. Everyone gasped in unison. "Is that real?" Yoko asked, wide-eyed. Ajax took it before she could stop him. "My dad keeps his locked in a safe. You're just going to give this to Tyler." "I'm not giving him anything," Wednesday said coolly, taking the box from his hand and snapping it shut. "And I want the cufflinks back." "Now." Eden reluctantly handed them over. Wednesday placed everything back in the box in swift, deliberate motions. She didn't even bother opening the shoebox. Just then, Miss Thornhill stepped into the room. "What is going on in here?" Bianca spoke up, amused. Wednesday's family sent her and her friend formal wear for the exhibition. Miss Thornhill stared at the gifts on the bed, the black boxes, the tailored suit, the glinting Rolex. For once, she was speechless. "He's definitely not going to run for the hills after this," Eden quipped, as Wednesday lifted the box. "I'm taking it to the weather vane," Wednesday said. Eden quickly volunteered to help, trailing behind her. Xavier turned to Ajax, baffled. "What happened while I was gone?" Ajax shook his head. "Man, I don't even know. But if Tyler says no to her after all that, he's dumber than he looks." "You get your wish," Wednesday said flatly as she walked into the weather vane, Eden trailing behind her with the large black box while she carried the smaller one. Eden dropped the box onto Wednesday's usual booth with a soft thud just as Tyler approached, handing Wednesday her usual quad espresso. "For you," she said, nudging the boxes toward him. Tyler blinked. "What?" "Open them," she instructed. Still confused, Tyler opened the smaller box first. Inside, a pair of sleek, pointed black leather shoes gleamed under the cafe lights. "Are they your size?" Wednesday asked, face unreadable. Tyler glanced at the label. "Yeah. How did you?" "Don't go there," she interrupted coolly. "Open the big one," Eden urged, clearly enjoying this more than anyone else. Tyler pulled open the larger box and unfolded the black two-piece suit with reverence. "This is really nice." "What is this, wool?" "Fine wool," Eden said, impressed. "Put it on. Let's see how good it looks on you." Wednesday remained silent, arms crossed, as Tyler hesitated, then pulled on the blazer over his uniform. It fit him perfectly, the cut hugging his shoulders just right. "Well," she asked, eyes scanning him without an ounce of visible emotion. "How does it fit?" Tyler looked down at himself, still processing. "It's great." "Seriously? But why?" "Take it off," Wednesday said abruptly. "Before someone sees you." Tyler froze for a second, then peeled the blazer off as quickly as he'd put it on. He didn't ask again. "Tyler, what are you doing?" Sheriff Galpin asked sharply as he walked into the weather vane, the mayor close behind. "Dad, Wednesday was just giving me gifts for the exhibition," Wednesday finished for him, cool and composed. Mayor Walker's eyes widened when he spotted the suit. "You know the dress code is semi-formal, right?" "Doesn't matter," Wednesday replied before Tyler could say a word. "He's wearing it. No exceptions." She hadn't taken her eyes off him since she arrived. Tyler swallowed. "Sure, I can do that," he said, gently placing the blazer back into the box. That's when he noticed the two smaller ones. He opened the first and stared, puzzled. "Wednesday, what are these?" "Cufflinks," she answered flatly. "You use them to fasten the sleeves of your shirt." Eden leaned in. "They're custom-made. Look, your initials. TG. These look expensive." "They are," Wednesday added without blinking. "You think that's expensive?" "Open the other one," Eden urged. Tyler lifted the lid on the last box and froze. A silver Rolex gleamed inside. Mayor Walker choked on his coffee. "Is that what I think it is?" "Thanks," Tyler said awkwardly, not really understanding what he was holding. "Let me see that," the mayor said, reaching out with trembling hands. He turned it over, visibly sweating. "Wednesday, you're just giving this to him?" "No. My parents are," she replied, still expressionless. Could be Grandmama. Or Adele. Hard to say. She turned to Tyler. In any case, you're going to be meeting my parents at the exhibition. Sheriff Galpin opened his mouth to object, but Mayor Walker put a firm hand on his arm. Let's talk outside, Wednesday said. Come on, Eden. The two of them left without looking back. Tyler watched them go. Once outside, Donovan started, Tyler is not going with Wednesday Addams to that exhibition. What are you talking about, Donovan? Mayor Walker said, lowering his voice. Of course Tyler's going. He has to go. You know how I feel about the Addams family. Put that aside for now. Play nice, or you could lose your badge. Donovan looked like he'd been slapped. They just gave your son a watch that costs as much as a brand new car, the mayor continued. What do you think happens if he doesn't show up as their daughter's date? Back inside, Tyler slowly looked down at the Rolex again. Then he gently set it back into the box, sealed all the lids, and carried everything out to his car careful, like he was holding something volatile. Word spread through Nevermore like wildfire. The Addams family gave Tyler Galpin a silver Rolex. Not just any Rolex, a custom piece that, according to Yoko's very loud whisper in herbology, costs more than Principal Weems' car. In the quad, Bianca leaned against a stone bench, arms crossed. I knew Wednesday was weird. I just didn't realize her whole bloodline was certifiably unhinged. Ajax nodded, wide-eyed. I mean, I get covering for her after the talent show bomb thing, but giving Tyler a watch like that? They don't even know him. They must know. Xavier chimed in quietly. They don't throw money around randomly. Not unless it's part of something bigger. Maybe it's a test. A test? Yoko said. What is this? Addams Family Hunger Games. Bianca scoffed. Or a bribe. To make sure he shows up looking like her accessory instead of her date. Meanwhile, in the teacher's lounge, Coach Vlad nearly dropped his mug. A Rolex, he repeated. What were they thinking? He's a barista, not a Bond villain. Miss Thornhill frowned. It's excessive. Even for them. I mean, a blank check to keep the school quiet about the explosion last month. That made sense. But this, Professor Garcia muttered, that family doesn't do anything without a reason. The last time they donated, we ended up hosting a cursed taxidermy exhibit for 6 months. And in her office, Principal Weems pressed her fingertips to her temple as another wave of her migraine crept in. She had already drafted contingency plans. If one Addams demanded Nevermore surrender Friday's artifacts, even one, it would all be over. The exhibition, the preservation efforts, the fragile relationship with the mayor's office. But it was something else, something she hadn't accounted for. That Rolex wasn't a flex. It was a flag. A silent declaration. He matters now. He's one of ours. Weems stared out her window, watching students move across the quad like chess pieces. Her gut twisted. She was missing something critical. And by the time she figured out what it was, it might already be too late. Chapter 24. While the rest of Nevermore buzzed about the Rolex, trying to decode what it meant, Wednesday Addams had already moved on. She wasn't thinking about Tyler. Or the suit. Or the watch that made every teacher quietly Google its retail value during lunch. No, she was already looking forward to the chaos that would unfold at the exhibition. It was Eden who finally asked the question. You're sure your family doesn't know about Tyler? Wednesday's response was calm, unwavering. This isn't about the watch. Or Tyler. Then what is it about? Eden asked, blinking. Wednesday glanced sideways at her, that familiar half-lidded stare returning. You'll see. On the day of the exhibition. Her mind drifted back years ago, when she was still small enough to be considered tolerably spooky. Back when Grandmama brought out an ancient, soot-blackened relic wrapped in cloth. A torch. They had recovered it from a vault in Cairo after decades of negotiation, curses, and several unexplained disappearances. It was no ordinary artifact. It was the torch their ancestors had used to help burn down the Library of Alexandria. Yes, that torch. Or so the family claimed. What followed was nothing short of an Addams civil war. They fought bitterly, bloodily, and in multiple languages over what was essentially an ancient matchstick. The driftwood handle had inscriptions burned into it. But it wasn't until Uncle Aristide cast a spell to confirm its authenticity that the family descended into full-scale lunacy. Wednesday still remembered the elder one muttering over a crystal glass of something thick and red, "The children won't understand the value of their ancestry until it starts costing them." And now, history was preparing to repeat itself. Her writings, her artifacts, would soon take their place among the Addams legacy. And they wouldn't go unnoticed. Sure enough, her suspicions were confirmed 2 days before the exhibition. A cousin appeared at the weather vane. Slick smile, impeccably dressed, and unmistakably fake. He wasn't there for coffee. He was there for Tyler. They couldn't bribe Wednesday. So now they were trying to charm her date. Get in close. Secure a piece of whatever fortune or fame might come from the Addams' literary relics. Wednesday watched from her usual booth, sipping her espresso with disdain. "I should have let it sit there for another 400 years, she muttered. But it was too late. The chaos had already begun. The engine roared like thunder outside the weather vane before it abruptly cut off. Every head in the cafe turned toward the windows, where a fully refurbished black and chrome Harley-Davidson gleamed under the cloudy sky like a predator in hibernation. Then the door opened, and in walked Wednesday Addams. He was draped head to toe in black ripped shirt, leather pants laced with silver chains, spiked gloves, and a long trench coat that dusted the floor. His boots thudded heavily with each step. His pale, glowing skin made him look like he'd stepped off the set of Twilight, but older, colder, and undeniably Addams. Golden hair fell around his angular face, and his deep brown eyes scanned the cafe like a predator eyeing prey. He carried his helmet under one arm like a knight sheathing a weapon. When he reached Wednesday's booth, he didn't sit. He just smiled, that infuriating family smile, the one that came with a patronizing tone. "You still drink espresso like it's poison in a chalice," Lucien said smoothly. "You still talk like you're in a poorly written vampire romance," Wednesday replied, not looking up. Lucien chuckled and reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a small, ancient porcelain doll, blonde hair, blue eyes, and dressed in a black mourning outfit. "I don't play with dolls anymore," Wednesday said coldly. "What else should I have brought you?" he asked innocently. "Something more useful. Like hemlock." Tyler, having overheard most of it, cautiously approached with Wednesday's coffee in hand. "Oh, you must be Tyler. Wednesday's boyfriend?" Lucien asked, giving him a once-over like he was inspecting a used car. "I'm Tyler," he said, extending a hand. "Nice to meet you." Lucien's gloved hand met his in a firm shake. "What do you think of my motorcycle?" Tyler glanced through the window at the glimmering Harley. "Looks like Johnny Blaze's bike from Ghost Rider, except cleaner. And not on fire." Lucien smirked. "It's a custom rebuild. Took me 2 years and more money than I care to admit. Want to take it for a spin?" "No thanks. My dad would actually kill me," Tyler said, chuckling awkwardly. "A shame." Lucien glanced back at Wednesday. "I'm staying at the inn, in case you want to hang out. Or if Wednesday ever decides to ask me for a favor." "I won't." Lucien turned to Tyler again. "You want to make me something?" Tyler shook his head. "I'm guessing you're not a caffeine guy." Lucien waved it off. "I'm not a caffeine addict like Wednesday here." He gave them both a nod, his coat swirling behind him as he walked to the door. "But you'll definitely be seeing me at the exhibition." The Harley's engine fired up again like a demon's growl, rattling the windows as Lucien peeled off down the road. Tyler stared after him, then looked at Wednesday. "He seems interesting." Wednesday took a long sip of her espresso. "Wait until you meet the rest of them." Heads turned. The roaring engine echoed across the Nevermore courtyard like thunder warning of a storm. Students stopped mid-conversation. Even the crows perched on the rooftops seemed to go silent. Wednesday Addams pulled into the front circle, the classic Harley rumbling beneath him like some ancient beast. He dismounted with practiced ease, then placed his matte black helmet atop the seat. For a heartbeat, it was as if time itself slowed. A few students, Yoko, Bianca, and Eden among them, stood frozen as Lucien removed his helmet, golden hair catching the light in sharp contrast to his pale skin. The angular lines of his face were unnervingly flawless, like marble sculpted under moonlight. "He looks like he walked straight out of Twilight," Yoko muttered. "Out of Twilight and into a funeral," Bianca added under her breath, eyes narrowing. Lucien's black overcoat billowed slightly behind him as he strode through the Gothic archway and into the marble halls of Nevermore. His heavy boots clicked against the stone with rhythm and weight. The echoes followed him like ghosts. He paused. His gaze landed on the architectural blueprints of Nevermore, a set designed and drawn by Wednesday Addams herself. Then, he stepped into the rotunda right in front of the bronze statue of Friday and Tyler, cast mid-motion, flames licking the air around them. Lucien tilted his head. A large easel stood nearby, veiled in crimson silk. Without a word, he grabbed the fabric and yanked it down with cinematic flourish. The silk billowed in the air for a moment, a slow red wave, before crumpling to the floor in silence. What it revealed made Lucien stop and then laugh. But it wasn't a normal laugh. It was low, rumbling, unhinged. The kind of laugh that made skin crawl. It echoed through the halls, unsettling enough that a few students stepped back. Oh gods. Oh man. It's Wednesday. 2 Wednesdays. Students leaned in to see. A charcoal portrait. Encased in a thin glass pane, preserved with care. 2 girls stood side by side in stark colonial garb, one in black, the other in pale gray. Their braids were matching, their faces calm and unreadable. The black-clad girl's hand hung loosely at her side, while a disembodied hand, mid-gesture, floated just above her shoulder. The other girl held an ancient spellbook to her chest, its leather cracked and curling at the corners. Lucien grinned wider and began snapping photos with his phone. He even took a selfie, angling himself dramatically beside the eerie portrait. The click of his camera app echoed once. Twice. Students whispered. Some pointed. "No doubt about it," Bianca muttered. "He's an Addams. He looks like a movie star," Eden added, eyes wide. At this point, Ajax chimed in, "If they're dressed in all black and act like the apocalypse is a hobby, they're probably an Addams." Everyone nodded. That's when Miss Thornhill stepped forward, keeping her tone light but her eyes wary. "Mr. Addams, if I could speak with you privately?" Lucien looked over his shoulder, smirked, then pocketed his phone. "Of course, ma'am. Lead the way." And as they disappeared down the corridor, the crimson silk still lay on the marble floor like a bloodstain no one dared touch. Miss Thornhill approached Lucien cautiously. "Excuse me," she said, her tone polite but firm. "I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the rotunda." Lucien turned slowly, eyes scanning her face like a predator sizing up a stranger in its territory. "And you are?" "Miss Thornhill," she replied, offering a composed smile. "Botany. New faculty member." "Ah, that explains the scent of soil and optimism," he said, eyes glinting with mischief. "Nice to meet you, Miss Thornhill. I'm Lucien Addams. I used to attend this fine institution, back when it had more character." "I'm aware of who you are," she said, folding her arms. "And Principal Weems asked me to escort you to her office. You've caused quite a scene." Lucien smirked, slipping his phone into his coat. "Can't help it. It's the cheekbones." She didn't rise to the bait. "This way, please." As they walked, the halls of Nevermore buzzed behind them. Students gossiped and peeked around corners as Lucien passed, moving with the theatrical flair of someone born to disturb the peace. Once in Principal Weems' office, the air shifted. "Lucien," Weems said coolly, looking up from her desk, "the exhibition isn't open yet." "What are you doing here?" "Window shopping," he said casually, tossing his coat over the back of the same chair he used to slouch in during weekly detentions. Weems gave him a sharp look. "That's not comforting." Lucien waved his hand. Relax. I'm not here to rob the vault or seduce a teacher. Though Miss Thornhill is quite charming in that headmistress from a gothic novel kind of way. Weems didn't flinch. I asked you a question. He leaned back. I've been busy. Opened a business, got arrested, jail, poker, rinse, and repeat. I made my money back, by the way. I'm a millionaire again. Congratulations, she said flatly. While you're here, I need your word that you won't interfere with the exhibition or cause trouble with Wednesday. Lucian's grin turned sharper. I would love to see footage of her blowing up the Loving Friday show. But no, I'm not here for that. I'm here for something older. Something that belongs to all of us. If you even think about conspiring. I don't conspire, Lucian interrupted, standing smoothly. I improvise. And I'm sure you'll be relieved to know I didn't even bring explosives this time. Weems exhaled through her nose. God help us. You're worse than your cousin. Lucian smiled with pride. High praise, headmistress.